Welcome back to another episode of Living Life with Brendan. I'm really excited to have Steve Weigel with me today.
Hey, you said it right.
Hey, we got it right this time. So for all of you that don't know, Steve's actually been behind the cameras all this time for, I think, the first season, we'll call it, of Living Life
season
with
one.
Season one.
Living life.
Living Life with Brendan. So I'm really excited to have Steve join us here today. Just for you guys to get a chance to meet Steve. He's an incredible person that I was lucky enough to meet.
Oh, thanks.
Was that about a year ago?
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah. So Steve was able to jump in and kind of took on my project. And, we fit really well together when we first met and thought, why not? Let's give this a shot.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm kind of like doing it. Brendan's got me working like crazy today. I'm doing recording. I got to be on the podcast. How's my hair?
It's good. It looks good.
Cool.
That's
Well, dude, thanks for having me on. And it's so fun to chat because whenever I'm like filming podcasts, I'm kind of obviously behind the scenes, like watching the cameras, watching everything. And as conversations happening, I'm like, I have questions.
right.
But I'm not on the podcast, so
You can't just yell
I don't get
those
to
out.
do that. Yeah, it's not for me.
No, and that's great. And that's why we thought it'd be really fun today, just to kind of be able to hash this out, answer questions, get to figure, just with growing and getting a chance to meet you. I have a lot of questions.
Oh, cool.
A lot of
questions for you. Cool.
Well, this is going to be great then.
We'll see how this goes. Well, dude, I mean, one thing is like, when you first contacted me and wanted to, and I know everyone on this podcast has probably heard your story, but when you first contacted me and wanted to like do a podcast, I'm like, who the hell is this kid? And like, what is the drive? Like, why and how do you have the drive to stay positive and to stay hopeful? And so that's something that I hope like through this podcast comes through is like more just into like your heart,
Right.
more into like your brain and your mind and how you stay positive and how you've gone through, a pretty devastating life incident and have remained positive. And that I think maybe isn't the most fascinating thing about you, but it's up there.
No,
The other fascinating thing, let me finish, please.
Go ahead. Take your time.
Hydrogen water.
That's my number one key right there.
Yeah.
That's how I stay so fit.
They go together.
They go together.
Hydrogen water is what creates the positivity.
Amazon, $44.99.
I can't with the hydrogen water, dude. I'm sure it's working miracles for you,
It
but
is.
I just can't get on board with that.
Oh, it's funny. It's good
Is it
stuff.
bubbly?
The hydrogen kind of fuses into the bottle.
Yeah. So is it like drinking like a LaCroix?
No.
It
like
tastes flat.
It's like flat.
Yeah. It's not sparkly.
Nope. It's good though.
Oh, cool.
I feel like it's just powering through me when I drink it.
Yeah. I love that, dude. Good for you.
Thank you.
Well, man, yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for being on the podcast. And I'm excited to just talk more about, I think the main point of this podcast, not just this specific one, but Living Life with Brennan, is just talking about positivity, talking about hope. And you are like a beacon of hope, I think. At least to me, to live your life not based on your circumstances, but based on your mindset and, the outcome of things that you can't always control, the things that happen to you. But how do you take the things that happen to you? There's a saying, it's like life is 90%, 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it, which is so cliche, but it's so true. And you're an example of that.
Yeah, I do see that every once in a while too. And I kind of laugh at it because everybody sees it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, interesting, because we all haven't been dealt the same thing.
Well, everyone sees it and they go, yeah, I got a burger the other day and they put mayo on it.
Right.
And they're like, and I responded to that. You know what I mean? People correlate that saying with like the really minor things that are happening in their life.
Exactly.
And they're going, yeah, that's me. But how many of them have suffered something like you have and still remained hopeful and positive and use that to like propel yourself forward in life?
Well,
Probably not many.
No, I don't think a lot. But I think one of the big things too is it's very hard to judge other people and connect them. Even in my
I'm
situation.
good at judging other people, actually.
I just mean in my situation, 90% of the time I could go to someone that's complaining and be like, you have no idea what it's like to me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I don't know what it's like to be them. I don't know the struggles that people face. Maybe they lost someone close to them. I don't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard for me. Physically, it's easy to see the comparison.
That's another mind-blowing thing. I've heard you say that a couple of times on the podcast where you're saying, it would be easy for someone in my position to be like, oh, well, I have a way harder life than anyone. But you said multiple times, you're like, I don't view it that way. I don't know what people have gone through. And that is such a beautiful mindset to have, because it would be so easy to go like, me. And you're just going, yeah, I've had this thing happen and that sucked. Where did that come from? Is that your family? Is that like it? Where did that come from?
I can't pinpoint it right to one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's how I was raised.
Series,
I think
yeah.
it's the family. I think it's the friendship, the
Yeah.
core. A lot of what I do, I'm very excited. Like each day I want to try and be the best that I can.
Yeah.
Because I've found that everybody has bad days and days that we're down, which we
Yeah.
wouldn't be human if we weren't.
Yep.
But when you start kind of letting those, top on top of each other and keep building up, it really gets to a point where you're not really progressing.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be time to heal for certain things.
Yep.
But seeing as to being positive, I see that, excuse me, the ripple effect of my positivity, and when I want to do things and get up and do things, it kind of sheds into my parents, sheds into my friends. And I see that it's bigger than just me when I get excited about things and when I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe other people say, well, if he's doing it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
I don't always get to see that or hear that,
Yeah.
but sometimes I do, right?
Yeah.
And it elates me and wants me to continue doing it.
I wonder if your positivity potency is more potent than my positivity, because does that make sense?
It does, but I have a hard time believing that it would.
Well, if I just said, hey guys, life is great and it's really good, people are going to like, well, yeah, what cards have you been dealt for you to be able to say that?
Right.
And you going, guys, life is really good and it's awesome. And this positive thing happened and that positive thing happened. I think people would think a little bit more and go like, wow, there's someone who has suffered something devastating and really hard to overcome and deal with. And he remains positive. That's what I mean by like, when you say something, it has a little bit more weight to it.
And the thing, I 100% agree with that, only because of the physical aspect of what we have, right? Like everybody is their physical body and then they have their mental.
Yeah.
So for my physical body, we can see what's wrong with me. You can't see what's going on with someone.
Well,
mentally.
and that was going to be something else I said. What is your correlation between like physics? Because, we're obviously saying, okay, you're in a wheelchair. A lot of people know Brendan was in a diving accident when he was 20, dove into a lake. Not very deep water, turns out.
Not deep at all.
Not deep enough.
Not deep enough.
And we shouldn't be laughing.
I know.
You laughed. It gave me permission.
I give you permission to laugh.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course.
Not that it's funny, but it's like, what do? It's like, man, that spirit that you have is contagious, and that's a really beautiful thing about you. But I was going to ask how you look at people, and you're right. People that are struggling mentally, that can be just as devastating or just as crippling as a physical pain.
I honestly think it could be more so.
It can be, yeah.
And that's where I can control what I can. Physically, I know I'm not going to be able to walk out of this chair.
Yeah.
I know that that's not a possibility for me.
Yeah.
But thinking about the things that I can do and be able to kind of really hone in on what I'm able to do mentally to how to get to where I need to be. Whether one of the big things that we learned when I was first injured is directing my care. I have to tell somebody how to get me up correctly, because if I don't, I'm screwed for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So learning to be vocal, learning to know how to do things. But that all starts from my mentality, right? I have to want to do it, but I have to know how to do it. And as we continue to progress through that, it's like, what else can I do with my mind to like plan out what I need, whether I need, hey, Steve, I need you to set everything up for me. I need you to do everything for the podcast.
I guess I'll just set the whole thing up. Enjoy your Coke.
I can just lead the way. Mentally, I know what I have to do, but then I can vocalize it. Thankfully, I'm able to
I've seen that.
I'm able to speak again. But
I wonder if that's made you better even at your job, is the ability to communicate clearly what it is that you need.
The funny thing,
that would make you a great manager or a great leader.
I appreciate that. The funny thing with my work is, I do sales through the phone.
Yeah.
I actually don't tell people that I'm paralyzed until it gets to a point where someone's either yelling at me for something I probably didn't do. We'll just say I
And then
didn't
you
do
pull
it.
the handicap card.
And then I pull the card. And then I pull the card. So
That's amazing.
If I get buried down and I'm in a situation that is just, and we've all been there where it's not technically our fault. There's not a whole lot we can do. I'll be like, hey.
How do you bring it up? Are you like, by the way, I'm handicapped?
No.
Or do you go, like, what do you say?
So the funny thing is, I'll be like, hey, I'm doing everything I can. And they'll be, just swearing, giving me a hard time. And I'll be like, hey, I'm paralyzed from the neck down, trying to get this sent over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I usually will get the silent.
Yeah. They're like,
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't know. But, otherwise I really like to hone it on the fact that I do a great job. And then I kind of that cherry on top sometimes will be like, oh, by the way, if I don't have my camera on quickly, it's because I'm paralyzed from the neck down. And I'll get like,
you're like, I'm figuring it. Yeah.
Shit. Like, really?
Dang.
How are you doing this?
Yeah.
So
I more meant like, so you're doing calls, but I more so meant like in the workplace as a leader, if you were like a manager or I don't know, any sort of leader where you need to, I think that's one of the biggest things people struggle with in leadership is just giving clear direction.
Right.
Because they don't want to hurt people's feelings or they don't want to whatever. You could, in learning how to deal with your condition and people around you, even giving them direction on how to manage it, you probably become a really clear communicator and give clear direction, be able to give clear direction.
That's kind of the goal too, is to continue to hone that and like how I can become better at it.
Yep.
It's easier for me, like you said, when we started this conversation, to now be in a position where if I see people that I know can be doing better, I can be like, hey guys, come on, I can do this.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I can do this, I think you can do this from a physical aspect or whatnot. So for me to be able to get a point, and that's really where I wanted to be successful in life without kind of leveraging and see. I was 20, I was young.
But if someone yells out on the phone, pull that card all day, baby.
I have to. We'll get there. But no, just going back to not wanting to utilize it from the beginning.
Yeah.
When I was 20 and I got injured, I wanted to say, like, I'm going to work my tail off, see where life gets me, what happens through here. And, it's coming up on 15 years this July of being injured. And that's when I wanted to, get into the podcast, tell you what I experienced trying to go through without trying to leverage this.
Yeah.
Right. Just like we said, that cherry on top when I'm doing a sales call, letting people know that I'm paralyzed. It's kind of like letting the world know who I am 15 years later.
Yeah.
After everything that I've already accomplished in life, being a quadriplegic.
Yeah. Okay. There are seasons where I can be really, really positive, and then seasons where I like fall off or I lose it. When you're, I imagine the choice to be positive and to bring that energy to the world and show up every day as someone who is hopeful, is positive, is kind constantly, is patient. It takes a recommitment daily. When you're in a season maybe where you're not as happy or positive or whatever, do you have any like little tips or tricks you do to like get your brain back into that space of positivity and of hope? And does that make sense?
No, it does. It 100% does.
I thought you might.
I do. And I'd say my biggest one, actually interesting enough, is my tattoos that I got. So I got my Never Give Up tattoo about 1.5 years after my injury. And I can vividly remember being in that situation of going to get it. Also, I kind of put myself right back into the hospital bed, right? I can go back because I was very conscious for a lot of what happened to me. I can go back to diving into the water, being on the dock, like at a split second. I can go back to the hospital bed.
Wow.
Where clicking my mouth and blinking my eyes and just reading back through my Caring Bridge, the first thing after I was paralyzed and went through my surgery where I was blinking my eyes, the first thing that I said on the board was, I'm sorry to my parents and family. I knew that it was really bad. And I felt like I let kind of the world down in my family right away just by being injured. So I can go back to that situation of me blinking in tears, those letters when I'm having a bad day. And it puts me right back to where I was rock bottom, unable to talk and just
and not knowing if you ever would.
And not knowing if I was. They told me I was going to be on the ventilator most likely the rest of my life.
So that kind of just triggers gratitude.
Exactly. Like right away I snap back and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, look where we are.
Time to go.
Oh man, we can do so much now. And then, after doing that, maybe play some music, get in the right state of mind. It really helps me.
Some rap.
If that's the day, if that's what's called for, then absolutely. But
You listen to everything, don't you?
I listen to everything.
Every time I come over here, you're like, dude, there's this new album, and it's like something completely different than the last time we talked about.
It's a beautiful thing. I seem to love it.
That's really cool, man. I love that, and I think more people need to even write down like a list of 3 things. Like, how can you have 3 things that every time you get into a bad headspace, you can do, and it's immediately. And I know one of those things is gratitude, having a gratitude journal, writing down the things you're thankful for, because when you actually think of and acknowledge the things that you have in your life, as Americans, especially, we are better off than so much of the world in the resource, what we have. I know that's maybe an interesting statement to say we're better off. What does that even mean?
Right.
I've met people, I've traveled a lot, and I've met people all around the world that have very, very little, and they're happier than I am.
Right.
So better off is a kind of that's relative, what is good, what is not. But we have so much. We really do.
And obviously we all have our different situations. What would that be for you then? Like you said, you write in a journal.
Yeah.
And you go back to gratitude. Do you have a specific moment?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have a specific moment, but I guess I have a routine of things that I do. I know being outside is really huge for me, or moving my body in some way, exercise. Journaling is something I love to do. Putting my phone down. Like, I could just get into the doom scrolling, and every single thing I see on, Instagram reaffirms that my life sucks and everyone else's life is so much better than mine,
Of course.
So doom scrolling, chuck that out the window, get outside. Yeah, I think just bringing myself back to the present versus trying to live in a different world that isn't really true or doesn't exist.
So how long will you stay in Minnesota? If you like getting outside and we Arctic colds for
I'll stay until it gets cold.
6 months.
Yeah, I'll stay until I'll go back to, I don't know if I'll go back to Phoenix next year, but yeah, Phoenix was amazing because it's January and it's all I wanted to do is be outside, sit by the pool, go for a run, do whatever. I just want to be outside because it's beautiful.
Someday we could move this to Arizona.
I think we probably should. Yeah. Yeah.
We took my family and I took the month and went to Arizona, and Steve was down there doing his own thing for a lot longer than we were. But it was a beautiful time getting out of Minnesota's winter.
Yes, it was heaven. Okay, I want to go back to something I said a little bit ago. I said something about you being handicapped.
Yep.
Is that an offensive thing to say to someone?
This is interesting. I was just talking about
After I said it, I had a moment where I was like, was I supposed to say that? And I know everything's offensive now. It's 2024, so find offense in everything possible. But if something is offensive to people, I do want to be aware.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I
don't
handicapped. I don't take offense to most things. And if anything really. So I don't think it's handicap or physically challenged. I don't know which one sounds better.
Physically challenged sounds worse.
I may have to read up on what's acceptable for my situation.
Well, as long as you're not offended,
I'm honestly not offended through most things, but
yeah.
Usually when someone tries to say oh, can we get a reservation? We have one that's in a power wheelchair.
Yeah.
But it's not really a term associated with it.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is even after I said it, I didn't only kind of have this moment of, was I supposed to say that? Is it offensive? But I was like, I don't think of you as handicapped. You're a very capable person.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. It's yeah, your legs don't work maybe, but what does that have to do? Handicap is so much more. I mean,
I think I'd rather be called handicapped than physically challenged.
Yeah.
Because that's
yeah.
I mean, that's probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Right? To the extent, because I can't move my legs or arms really, but I really don't know.
Okay, this is something that's interesting. When you have to have people give you a drink or do a lot of things for you.
Right.
What do you do to, because I've met your family, I've met your friends. You're not a burden to anyone.
Right.
They all love you dearly and are happy to have you in their life, as am I.
Right.
So, getting a little,
appreciate it. Thank you.
Getting a little heavy and emotional on the podcast
tears
here.
flow.
But how do you I know when I hate asking for help.
Yeah.
I feel like a burden. I feel like I don't want to do that. How do you stay out of that mindset of thinking that?
I think the biggest challenge to me for the burden, we'll just go with the big B word, is my parents first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think necessarily that's come across from my friends a whole lot. I know asking for help and more of the times when I was younger in my 20s, I probably got overserved from my friends from not asking for help because they were more than happy to just constantly be like,
totally.
hey, here you go, have a drink.
Yep.
You look like you're thirsty. Haven't given you a drink in a while. And I'd get like 10 people just coming over being like, hey, have this drink, have this. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Great.
Right. But I think I'm at a point now where, again, being able to direct my care, like it's just another necessity, me asking for help because I need it. And for the most part, I've even had random people at random places where I'm like, hey, can you help me out with this?
Yeah.
And I found that majority of the civilization is very friendly and willing to help.
You know what's interesting is people want to be useful in life.
I think so too.
I think more than people want anything, they just want to have a purpose and to be useful. And so in asking, hey, can you do this really quick? And you're a kind person. So it's like, who wouldn't be like, I would love to help you.
Right.
Like people just want to be useful. And the reason I ask that question is because I think so many people hate asking for help. And you're someone that's had a little bit more experience in that. And so it's not to say like, oh, do you think you're a burden or this? What are like I was just curious, what is that, kind of the mindset you keep to make sure you don't get in this space? Because more people need to ask for help.
I think
they do.
And I agree. 100% I agree in that situation. And especially asking for help when they need it. I think people get embarrassed to ask for help. But in my situation, if I don't ask for help, nothing can get done.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can see people being like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I could ask for help to do this, but I'm just going to try it my way.
Yeah.
Right. Like whether you're weightlifting, trying to do a new like workout, you're like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I don't want to ask this person, is this right?
Totally.
So I'll just do it my way. And it could be completely wrong. But that's in a sense where they're able to at least try that way where I'm not.
Yeah.
So for me, asking is like, who should I ask? And I'll kind of view people. If it's got to be someone random, be like, oh, that person looks nice.
Yeah.
And I'll be like,
totally.
hey.
That person looks,
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's, I guess, is a tip for everyone out there is like, ask people for help.
Right.
Give people a chance to show up for you because you don't know if people are going to show up until you ask. And then all of a sudden, the people that do show up, I know there's been times where I've needed help. I didn't want to ask because I'm a guy and I'm, whatever. I'm a prick. I have this ego or whatever, and I don't want to ask for help. And then the second I do, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not know my friend, cared for you that much that he would just drop everything and show up. And it was such a beautiful expression of love because that's what it is. I mean, It's like people around you going like, giving them a chance to express their care for you. But
also on the flip side, when someone asks you for help and you absolutely know the answers and everything, how great does that feel?
It's amazing.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone wants to be helpful in some way. Everyone wants to have purpose. And even if that purpose is someone saying, hey, can you grab me a drink? And doing it, it's like, great.
Right.
Speaking of grabbing drinks, it doesn't seem like you being in a wheelchair stops you from doing anything. No. So on some of the other episodes, we've talked about visiting Arizona and visiting Vegas and going to London. Mm-hmm. And then when I just first showed up, I'm like, what have you been up to, man? He's been like happy hour like every day. And I'm like, dude, I don't go out that much.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, I guess for me, when I have to go out and I got to get dressed and I got to do whatever, I'm like, maybe I'll just stay in. I'm a bit of an introvert too. But for you, it's a lot more work.
Yeah.
It's a lot more work to just to go out to have drinks with friends. There's a lot more you have to think through.
Everything is a lot more work.
How do you have the energy?
So beautiful thing is I have been blessed, I guess, from people say like, you don't notice, which means I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
I make it seem really easy.
Yeah.
And that is an army helping me.
You're a ninja.
Right. I'm a ninja that has a lot of ninjas that work for me.
You like think through things though.
So I have to make sure that I have a van, a ride scheduled. I got to make sure like my clothes fit, We're talking about, do I have my wallet? Like, there's just checklists that I need to have done in order to go out. But at the same time, I love being around people.
Yeah.
So like I'll do all this stuff if it's just to be able to go out and see my friends.
Yeah.
And so that's when, it takes a little bit more planning for me.
Yeah.
And by a little bit, probably a lot.
A lot of it. Heck
But-
of a lot more than like it would take me.
Right.
Or,
But
someone.
I love being able to interact and getting a chance, especially with some of the friends that I just met with. They were college friends, hadn't seen in a while, some high school friends.
Cool.
So again, being able to show out for them,
Yeah.
I feel proud about that.
Yeah.
Not only for them to be able to show up for me, but also being able to be there for them.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. I love that answer.
I was able to do things, not let much stop me in my pursuit of wanting to like go hang out with friends. But this is one that I think our viewers would love to know is I think Steve is one of the wildest guys I've ever met, just with your absolute chaos that you do in your free
Antics.
time. Yes. So let's see, motorcycles,
Yeah.
skydiving,
Check.
hot air balloon. Have you been in one?
I've never done a high balloon. I want to jump from one.
Okay.
But yeah.
We'll add that to the list.
Yeah.
Hanging from cranes in Thailand.
Yeah. That's happened at least once.
What else is to the list?
I don't know. I love sailing. It's not like that's
Sailing.
dangerous or whatever, but sailing super cool. I love travel. Yeah, I just went on like a dirt bike trip down Baja, Mexico. Got held at gunpoint by the cartel. That was cool.
What would you give him?
I didn't give him anything. He came at I came up to this spot we were way in the middle of nowhere on like a gravel road that was like, 100 miles from any city or town. And I come upon this scene that looked like it was straight out of a movie. It seemed like two vehicles had come from opposite ends and met in the middle.
Drug deal.
Yes. 4 or 5 or however many guys get out of this truck. 4 or 5 guys get out of this truck, and they're all sitting there with like automatic weapons. And there's 2 guys in the middle talking. And I'm on my dirt bike alone because there was a group that got way ahead, and I was staying with a group that was way behind. And then I got sick of going slow. So I'm like, I'm going to start driving fast and catch up to the group up ahead. And so I come up on this scene alone, and I'm kind of driving up slowly. I'm like, what is going on here?
Right.
All of a sudden, this guy comes at me with a weapon drawn, like an AR or something. I don't know. And I was just like, oh, he doesn't want me to come over there. And he just kind of went like this. And so he's saying, get off the road.
Yeah.
So I like got off the road, went into the desert the long way around, and then just kind of bypassed him. But I didn't have to give him anything. Yeah.
Wow.
The group behind me, they actually stopped and like questioned for like 20 minutes and didn't want to let him go.
Oh, really?
But eventually they let him go. But yeah, so I get into some stuff.
How many jumps do you have under you?
110, I think.
Skydiving.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, but it's not compared to a lot of the people I jump with have like way more.
What? So this is something that I still would like to experiment with and maybe do. What is it for you when you skydive?
What is the rush, or why do I do it?
What is it? What's the love of it?
Yeah, I think like I've always just been drawn towards like risk or adrenaline, and I always wanted to do it. And it was like a matter of like either I had a ton of time but no money, or a ton of money but no time. So it just never worked. Where I finally like went and got my license and started doing it more is I was at a season of life when I was building a company, and my life was becoming very normal. Like I was making good money. I bought a home. I was just too comfortable. And my life kind of like oscillates between extreme comfort and like kind of, because I don't think you can be in fight or flight mode all the time.
Right.
But in discomfort, which you could refer to as fight or flight, you learn a lot. And so I go through these seasons of like learning a ton and being super uncomfortable, living in Thailand, working to fight sex trafficking, or traveling. Even traveling itself is like, I do it a lot, but it is uncomfortable. You're not around your normal comfortable things. And that's what I like about it. So my life kind of oscillates between, creating comfort for myself, having a home, making decent money, and then kind of like dumping all that for a season to go out and find discomfort. So I was in a season where I was building a business. It was doing well. I had bought a home. Everything was very comfortable. And I went, I'm not ready to toss this away, but I need something in my life that I'm not good at. something I'm a beginner of. You know, they say all the time, like, be a beginner. Don't be afraid to be a beginner. I hate being a beginner, dude.
Right.
I love being good at stuff. So I was like, what is something that I've wanted to do a long time? It's uncomfortable for me. And yeah, something about skydiving is like every time you go up, you jump out of an airplane and it's up to you.
Perfectly good airplane.
A perfectly good airplane. And it's up to you to save your own life. And so it's something that brings you extremely into the present. And so as I was in this very comfortable season of my life, I was like, I just need something that shifts my brain set to discomfort without leaving my job and, you know, throwing everything down the drain. What is something that I can do every day that is adrenaline? I don't do it every day, but something I can do often that is adrenaline. It's uncomfortable. I'm not good at. I'm a beginner, you know? And so that's kind of what it is for me. It's something that it like rewires my brain for, I don't know, they say doing anything hard, you know, doing an ice bath or anything that kind of puts you in a state of discomfort. It rewires your brain to do hard things. And those hard things can apply to relationships, to business, to anything. So it was just something in my life that I was doing and am doing because I enjoy it. Something I do with my brother too. So that's always fun. It's communal. But to experience some discomfort and do something a little wild that kind of reframes my brain.
I was going to say, you know, picking up something new that you're not good at. People are like cooking. Or something simple. Maybe juggling. Yeah. No,
I could
Steve's
cook.
Gonna jump out of an airplane.
Yeah, I could cook. I love cooking, but yeah, I don't know what it is. It's I'm always kind of seeking out that thing that is going to be fun and exciting and adrenaline and new and scary. I'm really drawn to that kind of stuff.
But you're not the type of person who keep needing more and more. Like, I'm not saying you're not one to like skydive and it's like, what's next beyond skydiving? What, like, you're not trying to just top one another, are you?
Not necessarily. I mean, I like challenges. So if something like I would love to base jump like once.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll do it consistently, but
I don't know how long you'll be my
well, that's what I'm saying.
You're a base jumper.
Yeah, I'm talking about going base jumping. Brent's like, who's going to film my podcast? Who's going to produce
help
this?
Setting up.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to just one up. And I don't like doing dangerous things for the sake of doing dangerous things. But I know that doing dangerous things bring me into a state of, like we're talking about, like being grateful. I know they bring me create like a really present moment. You know, when I was in Thailand, I was working with an organization that is fighting sex trafficking, and we were in brothels doing rescue work for. We had to focus on kids that were in sex trafficking, and so we're trying to rescue these kids and get them out of sex trafficking and get them into rehabilitation. And those brothels are all ran by like the Russian mafia. You know, they're all ran by very dangerous people. Right. And so I'm not always just like danger for the sake of danger. I want there to be danger with purpose, but I just recognize and know that's where I feel I get, and this is so weird because I love life, but I at times get very disengaged with life unless I'm in the face of danger or risk or something like that.
We could have a whole podcast on
your
whole fighting sex trafficking and all that, which is fantastic. Hopefully you guys were successful at least a little bit.
Yeah, it was hectic. Yeah.
Do you think, now this is also going to get a little futuristic for you, but with artificial intelligence, where we're at, do you think that there are simulations you could just put on in the future where you have that same
100%
feeling instead of having to physically take the risk of.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. I mean,
1,000%.
You could be, but
that doesn't count because you're not actually taking the risk.
What I'm saying, if you could get your body to feel that same way, would you?
Yeah. Well, I think people would feel. Well, have you ever done the
virtual reality? Oculus.
Oculus.
Yeah,
the plank.
Well, I had the everything. Yeah. Going through.
So it feels like you're up there, and there's even like a little bit of a fear response triggered.
Right.
I don't know if it would. I'm sure there could be some level of fear, discomfort you could feel, but you still know
that it's not
real. But that stuff is getting very good.
That's what I mean. Like, you could.
So are you saying would I stop going skydiving?
Well, if it was equivalent.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we
I
could
guess I
get
don't know.
fans turned on in the room. Make
I
it
don't
feel
think
like
it could
the
be
air.
ever completely equivalent.
I agree.
You could get close, but it would never be the same thing as like, because that's another thing is what I learned as I started skydiving more is it's not just about jumping out of a plane and feeling that adrenaline. It's about learning to fly. It's the purest form of flight. It's body flight.
Tom Petty.
So yeah, free falling.
Learning to fly.
And the other communal part is like doing it with your friends. So I'm falling out of the sky and my brother's over there. I'm like, you know, we're falling through the sky at 120 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour. We're looking at each other like, bro, this is wild. So it's, I don't know, it's more than just jumping out of a plane and free falling. It's like learning to fly, learning to use your body. It's very technical. It's something that's interesting is a lot of people that skydive aren't necessarily like just huge adrenaline junkies. A lot of them are very nerdy and like technical about it.
I just want to survive.
Yeah.
I just want to get up there, jump out, and land and live where I can see.
That's
and
what I want.
Well, yeah, but you also want to be able to like, I want to control my body. I want to be able to do this. I want to do flips. I can see the aspect to it because there's a lot more to it, just like with everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
the closer you get, the more it reveals like, oh, this isn't just about falling out of the sky or jumping out of a plane.
Right. And people think NASCAR is really boring, right? Because cars just drive around in circles. But you realize they're going 200 miles an hour and they're inches from each other.
Totally. Well, you know, but we all are like, I think looking for even though we might not think about it this way, we're all looking for things that bring us out of our comfort zone and into a state where we're learning, we're in, you know, it's new to us. Maybe it's uncomfortable. You're doing that with this podcast. I am. Change is scary. It is. Change can be very tough. You know, when you came to me, you're like, I've wanted to do this for a while, but I just not sure and I haven't really found anyone, but I'm also like, and the thing that I love is I've worked with other people who want to start podcasts and the second they turn on the camera, they just, I guess I don't want to be on a podcast. It's too vulnerable. It's too scary. Ever since the first day when we hit record, you were just like on. Be honest with me. Yeah. Do you practice in the mirror? No, I'd love to. I'd love to be able to say like, yes. Bro. I get up every day and I say, you got this, Brendan. Yeah. Take care of business. In the mirror. PCB. Yeah. No, I don't. Like I said, I've been blessed to be able to get my voice back. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that to be kind of my purpose when I first got back from being injured, from not having it, to be able to direct my care. But then also I've found throughout the 15 years, like people that I've seen, whether it's nurses, doctors, friends, other injuries, have said like, wow, you're so positive. Wow, your story is like, how are you this way? And I'm like, maybe it's time. Like, this is the right time to tell people, this is my life. I'm going to get down to the dirty of it. And it's not pretty a lot of the times. Yeah. Like you said, what it takes for me, it's an army to get me to certain places of things that are simple, but being able to dig deep, go through the nitty gritty, talk about my life. Yeah. I think it could help people that are in situations that, maybe are struggling through some stuff. Like, that's the inevitable goal. Yeah. If I can share how my life and how difficult it actually is, but to be able to continue and want to be the best that I can, which is kind of my purpose. Yeah. And if it resonates with other people, that's awesome. Well, something that's cool, and I'll just say this, and people can believe me or not, I'm not being paid to say this. Brendan is the same person, like you're the same person when the cameras are off. So I've done a lot of stuff with media in my life, and I've seen people who, they're not kind, they're not overly positive, but they know what sells. Right. They know that when the cameras turn on, they can say this little thing with this little line and this little tagline, and people go, ooh, gives them butterflies. And then know that's going to sell. And something I think is cool is like to be able to come on this podcast and carry the positivity you carry. It's not something that just like you turn on the cameras and you're probably not a great actor is what I'm saying. No, it's not like you went, I just need to develop this for camera. This level of hope and positivity has been developed over 15 years. And just now, viewers are reaping the benefits of you creating a life where you've gone through something difficult and you've been able to develop this mindset of positivity and hope and beauty. And it's so cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, no, I wish I was good at acting, right? Maybe there'd be a future for me as 35-year-old. There you go.
There are a few movies actually just come to mind about quadriplegics.
Really?
Bryan Cranston played a quadriplegic in a movie with Kevin Hart.
Oh, no way.
The Upside. Yeah, it was actually done really well.
Bro, I think there might be a future there.
Well, I don't know.
Why not?
My
Yeah,
acting,
you're a shit actor, so.
they're gonna be like, give us really sad. I'm gonna be like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to dig deep. But no.
Well, you said a bit ago, you go, I think that my story and the way I'm carrying myself and living my life could be helpful to people. Yeah, like, is that your hope with doing this? It's like your hope is you want to be able to pass that, the conviction, like
I do.
pass that to other people.
I do. There are times still in this life, in the physical body that I have, where I still get the same feelings I had before I was injured, where, those like split seconds, minutes, times when you're either on a beach or you're with your family, Thanksgiving, whatever it may be, where you're just like, man, I want this time to last forever.
Yeah.
I still get that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like, I want to
dude.
continue to share that and show people like, just because something happens, you can still have those moments where you're like, this is beautiful.
What is the key to finding those moments? Awareness,
searching for
present.
it, right?
Yeah.
Not letting things get in the way of life.
Not letting the circumstances that you might be in. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And that's the other thing. And I want to make my friends, I want to make everybody that knows me, I want to make them proud.
Yeah.
I want to do it for not only
I think you're
myself,
doing that.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you're making me proud because, I just met you right before we started doing the podcast. And every time you show up and every time you like come with the same attitude and the same, I think, pure heart and genuine interest in other people's lives. And that's cool.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
I love learning about people.
Yeah.
Whether
really cool.
someone's like, hey, if I just met them, they're like, what's happening with you? And
yeah,
I give them just a brief skinny on
Yeah.
major and be like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Like, tell me about you.
Yeah.
Right? No, that's just who I am. And I
That's
love
cool,
it. I
man.
love learning.
That's so cool. What's something you're looking forward to end the podcast here? We're coming up on 45 minutes. What's something you're excited for in the next 6 months or year or whatever?
I'm excited to keep shooting, right? Like I want to get some more guests lined up.
Yeah.
Maybe broaden the horizon.
You did widen and broaden together.
I did.
Widen.
I did.
I do that.
No, I want to broaden the horizon.
Yeah.
Get some guests on. Talk about experiences. Working on a clothing line. Very
Cool.
excited about that.
Yes, sir.
Doing some limited edition runs from the beginning.
That's going to be dope.
I'm really excited.
Tell me more about that. What is the hope there?
So the hope there is, again, to be able to just continue to spread this.
Yeah.
But I'm a big like fashion guy. I love clothes, love this. I want to wear it. I want people to wear it. Love to see it. Love to pass that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a positivity brand. So being able to spread awareness for it as well.
Cool.
But being tagged with that too, right?
Yeah. Well, people can care, like the energy that is broadcasted on this channel and on this podcast. Let's package that and give it to other people to carry. Because I think something that is cool is when you build a brand and you have a message, people can borrow that message. People can like borrow that from you and go carry it out into their world.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Right there. Get it spread as wide as we can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the hope since starting this.
Yeah.
I want to reach as many people as I possibly can.
I love that.
And some will go right through their ears, left to right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Some it's going to just stick right between those ears and they're going to love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I want, just as reach as many of those people as I possibly can.
Cool, man. I love it so much. Well, dude, it's an honor to be working on this podcast with you. It's been fun to actually be on it.
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
I said, bro, when are you going to have me on?
You're right.
I can talk about things and stuff.
Right. And I was like, yeah, just come on in here. We'll just pop
He's
in.
like, fine.
Fine, Steve. Let me just, okay.
You can be on. What is this? Because this isn't season 1, but it's not season 2 yet. It's kind of like the intermission.
Yeah, we'll call it the
He's like,
matinee.
you can be on the intermission. I'm like, doesn't sound that exciting, but
We're not going to call it an episode. We're going to call it just a little intermission matinee.
Yeah, there is season 2 coming. That's important for people to know. And we're looking at guests right now.
Yeah.
And with that, again, will come the fashion line that will be dropping soon. We're not going to, we'll leave this a cliffhanger.
Yeah, we'll leave it a cliffhanger. Keep following Living Life with Brendan on Instagram because I am posting a lot of questionnaires on guests and a lot of Q&As on there as well. Going to continue to start shooting some more videos just with my life, how I get in and out of my van, the accessible van, using the crane to get me in and out of bed. Just some more things that, again, I told you about the nitty gritty. A lot of that's going to start coming out too, just a peek behind the curtain of my life.
Yeah. Brennan, you're the man. I really appreciate you. I really genuinely do. And I'm so honored to be a part of what is happening on this podcast and everything. So
thank you so much, Steve. Thanks
thank you,
again
man,
for all the help with it. And
absolutely
excited to see where we go with this.
awesome. Here we go.
All right.